Next up is item 16. We're to receive the R277-700 hearing report, but I do not see AAG David Thomas here. He's somewhere but not here. So who's covering? Does anyone know where he's at? I do. I don't want to say where he's at.
Well, I've spoke with Dave. Yeah, he's we'll just say he's away on
Brian,
obligations.
Are you and Angie handling this?
Yeah, and so Angie, we've been talking over the last couple of days in preparation for this item. So I think Angie's going to take lead.
Do you want me to go ahead?
Okay, please do.
Great. I'm just pulling up right now, and I apologize. I've got the IP in there, and I'm waiting for it to let me put the code in, and then I will be projecting. Just one moment. All right. I think I'm on. I just wanted to bring to your attention on board docs, one of the documents that is attached to item 16.1 is a copy of the hearing officer report, which is a short summary of kind of the background of the proceeding, and then the remaining 300 of the 379 pages is essentially the record, the public hearing record. So under the Administrative Rulemaking Act, after you hold a public hearing, the hearing officer is to compile the hearing record, which includes another way that you could access this is on our USB webpage. You can see here we have a public hearing posting, which includes the rule, the notice of the public hearing. It includes all of the requests for the hearing. It also includes all of the written public comments, the handouts that were submitted, as well as the audio of the public hearing. So that is essentially the public record of the hearing, and wanted to present the public hearing report and record to you for official presentation. There's no need to take a vote. If you'd like to take a vote, though, to accept the report and public record, you could do that at this time.
The reason this is on here is it's a way to bring a conclusion to the hearing report, and so a motion accepting the hearing report is what I'm seeking at this time. We have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. Okay. Discussion. Board Member Lear.
Does this end the discussion then of R277-700, or is it just to accept the hearing report?
Was to the
record. Just questioning that?
It is to accept the hearing report from
Okay.
our
Thank
AAG.
you.
Any other discussions? Seeing none, let's vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, the voting was unanimous. Thank you. Okay, the next board member or Vice Chair Brittany Cummins.
Were you going to 16.2?
What's that?
Were you going to 16.2? Can I make a motion?
Well, I was going to bring that up, but your light was on, so that's where we're at next. Yes.
I move that we direct staff to not file a notice of effective date for R277-700 with the Office of Administrative Rules and send R277-700 back to the Standards and Assessment Committee for further review and consideration of desired amendments addressing community input.
I second.
We have a motion. We have a second from Board Member Reby. Any further discussion? Or any discussion? Say none, let's vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
Okay, well let's do a roll call on this. Okay. Okay, everyone has a mic. The motion is okay. Will you read the motion again?
Yeah. to direct staff to not file a notice of effective date for R27700 with the Office of Administrative Rules and to send R277-700 back to the Standards and Assessment Committee for review and consideration of desired amendments addressing community input.
Okay. Board Member Nielsen, did you get that okay then? Okay, thank you. Okay, we're going to do a roll call. Please pay attention, and here we go.
Okay, Member Belknap. Member Belknap. Oh, sorry, no. Member Bolter. No. Member Cannon. Yay. Member Brittany Cummins. Yes. Member Lisa Cummins. No. Member Ellis. No. Member Gravitt. Yes. Member Hanson. No. Member Lear. Yes. Member Nielsen. No. Member Reeby. Yes. Member Stokes. Member Warner? Yes. Member Wright? No. Chair Huntsman?
No.
7 to 8 fails.
Motion fails. Further motions? Oh, Brittany. Vice Chair Brittany Cummings.
I move that we adopt Revision 1, which is something that I have prepared. Revision 1 of R27700 and direct staff to file Revision 1 of R277-700 of with the Office of Administrative Rules.
We have a motion to adopt Revision 1. Is this on our board docs? I think mine's coming your way that way. This is my last one. Nope, I think we're good.
Did she get a second?
Okay, we have a motion to adopt Revision 1. Do we have a second? Okay, we have a second from Vice Chair Warner. Discussion can, no, this is new to me, so I'm hoping someone's going to speak to this.
Yeah, let's have a discussion, please.
Okay. Vice Chair Brittany Cummins.
Okay, my thoughts on this. The reason I gave that first motion was the opportunity to take some of these back to committee and have a full discussion of it. And so since that didn't pass, this is the second option, which would be to have this quick discussion and pass it forward. This would, essentially, it would still go out for public comment, right? And so this would be, have that opportunity. And so there's time. But anyways, the intent behind this is that, that it would take, if you'll see, anything in red is taken out and anything in blue in is addition. The first section is blue and red because it's just transferring them back to a spot. And so it's basically saying that we would require those courses, that they would be required. However, on line 177, it says an LEA may, and it opens up the flexibility for the LEAs to integrate across these courses across content areas. If an LEA ensures that the core standards for these are taught, or, which was basically the same as or, they would establish alternate methods for students to demonstrate competency of the subjects described in subsection 3, so that they could create the flexibility that LEA wants to measure that competency. And the blue area just talks about how that they would set that policy at the LEA level. My intent in this rule, these amendments are to maintain the flexibility. So many of the concerns that were brought up where people said we want flexibility. Well, my daughter plays in the orchestra and doesn't want to have to take, this credit of music. Well, this would give an LEA that opportunity to give credit to students for these flexible opportunities that they're seeking for any of this content area. It's not just music. It could be for any of this content, and it would give them the opportunity to really look at what it means to show that they are able to accomplish these things. And so I feel like this is a compromise where it provides the flexibility for students and parents to really choose their path, but then it puts the guardrails of access so that this content will be accessible for every student in the state of Utah.
Discussion? Board Member Wright?
On accessibility, I thought we already had guardrails. Board Member Cummins, that they're required to offer them, and so why are we further changing it?
Okay, who would?
Oh, Board Member. I'm asking Board Member Brittany Cummins.
Okay.
Under the version that was passed before, they were required to offer by registration. So that doesn't mean that they have to offer enough seats for every student. They could offer one class of music. And so if I have 5 classes of students who want music, it's now only accessible to one class. And so this allows an LEA to provide the flexibility for those who are seeking it, but that they have to provide access to each student.
Did you have a follow-up, or did that answer your question? Board Member, while you're thinking about that, Joel, Board Member Reeby, and then Vice Chair Ellis, and then Lear.
I appreciate Board Member Cummings' work on this. As we sat through that hearing, many people were concerned about flexibility. I think that this provides a lot of flexibility. I reached out to a number of the people who were against us, who were for this rule, and I asked them, how can we make this rule best for everyone? And as I spoke to Board Member Cummings, these are some of the things that they had mentioned. This provides the guardrails to keep the classes in place that need to be there for parents who don't advocate for their kids as much as some other parents do. But it does provide the flexibility for parents who don't want to participate in these classes, or for districts who want to have blended classes. So as we reached out to people to find out how we could make this better and try to react to the hearing that we heard and the testimony of people, this was the conversations that we heard. And I think as a board, it would be nice to react to the hearing and to create a compromise that listens to what our constituents have said to us, took the time to come here and talk to us and email us. I think it is responsible to all the parties that reached out to us. It meets the requirement of what was initially spoken to. It honors that intent, but it also honors the intent of the people who came to say, I'm not okay with getting rid of everything. So I appreciate the work that Board Member Cummings has done, and I appreciate all the people who reached out and spoke to us.
Okay. Vice Chair Ellis, and then Lear.
I just have a procedural question. So Board Member Cummins mentioned that this would go out for public comment. Are you talking about just through the rules? Okay, because I don't want to be in the same place where people are accusing us of passing something without. Anyway, so I have some concerns about that. A lot of people don't understand the administrative rules process. We did a good job. I appreciate Angie for helping us make sure that people understood that a little bit better. But I think there's a lot of work to do, and so I'm concerned about that.
Board Member Lear.
A couple of things, Joel, in response to your point. I think it's really, really an important phrase in that rule that was passed that said they shall offer it through registration. And to kind of put a different side to the side that Brittany presented, that means that if only 5 students registered or 10 students, the LEA could say we can't support that class. So it essentially wouldn't be available for those 10 students. And who knows if an LEA says 11 students is too few, or 15 or 20. So it could definitely disadvantage and not be the choice of many parents. So I think that's an important point to make. I also really would like to have more discussion of this concept. I think it's a really big sea change, and I think discussing this compromise version allows us to have some more discussion and allows us to go part way and see how it suits the school districts, the charter schools, those 4,500 people in my constituent area and statewide who signed the petition and said we want to have a chance to weigh in on this. And I think that's just a respectful way to go and have more discussion of a really major policy change.
Board member, let's see, Vice Chair Ellis, then Hanson, then Bolter, then Gravitt,
Okay.
then Cummins. Okay, so Vice Chair
I'm
Ellis.
trying to wrap my head around how this would affect our most rural of districts that are already strapped, and now we're saying no matter how many kids want to take this class, you have to make it available for them, and I just feel like that deserves further discussion and looking into, because I think that could be a very huge burden on some of the rural districts that I represent.
Okay, did you want to comment because of? Okay, I'm keeping track of who's next.
None of these are new requirements, right? And so there's nothing new. What this does add to is the flexibility on how an LEA could offer this content to their students. So they do not have to offer it in a class form, right? But they have to be able to have access for all students to do this. And so the flexibility lies in the creativity of a district or a charter board.
Okay, Hanson, then Gravitt, then Cummins.
I
you're
feel
in on
like
that?
I feel like I
Who's
may
light?
be in a
Oh.
rerun here.
Everybody wants to talk.
When we
Well,
find
I'm trying to call him out. So
when we first started talking about this, if you recall, I said that I wasn't going to vote for it until I talked to my LEAs. I feel the same way about this one. I need to be able to get input from everybody before I can, and it's very difficult when someone just hands you something and you're supposed to be able to study it in 5 minutes and go through it. So when the first motion was made, I didn't know that this was already prepared. I wish we would have known that, because I would like this to go through the regular process now so we could get input from our LEAs and those people who could give us input to let us know how that's going to affect them. So.
Where are you going? You can go raise your hand.
okay, Gravitt.
I just want to say I wish we were sending it back to Standard and Assessment so we could have these discussions and look at it more deeply. But since we chose not to do that, I think that, I think that this revision is the result of really listening to what our constituents have been emailing us, the public hearing, and I think it allows the flexibility while not making it the rule, but making children not having certain classes the exception. And I just want to bring up one thing that hasn't been part of the conversation, that I had several parents call me on the phone and say, this 700 takes away my choice as a parent. And I asked why. This is what the parent said. She said, how can I require my son to take health when the state doesn't require it or a district doesn't require it? And that's just a new perspective, because she said, I have a hard enough time forcing my child to do anything. And if a district doesn't require something, how am I going to? She said, I see this as taking my choice away of ensuring equity for my child. So just something to think about.
Okay, thank you. Board member Cannon, I'm seeing him. I'm going to. I thought it was Cummins, but they were both fighting for it, and then I'm coming over here.
No fighting.
I got you.
No fighting.
I got you. I'm watching lights and I'm writing the list as soon as I see them. So you guys are coming. It'll be a minute. Okay.
So I've never heard that a state would take away the empowerment of a parent just because they don't mandate something from the state down. anyways, one thing that I'm concerned, two things I'm concerned about. I'm concerned about line 178 about integrating one or more of the courses. If healthcare is, if health classes are integrated with English and language arts, and I've already seen this down in a district where sexual orientation is taught in English and science, how can a parent opt out of that class if they're opting out of sexual education out of the health class? How can they opt out of the English portion and the math portion and science and so on and so forth? The second thing is competency-based framework. I'm concerned that it takes away the definitions from the parents on what that looks like and with the LEAs versus what the state would mandate that to look like, and limit the parent choice on that with the LEAs in partnership there. So because there's going to be more problems, more definitions at the local level than we're going to think of at the top, and I want some more flexibility at the LEA level.
Board Member Cannon, then it will be Wright, Nielsen, Bolter, Reeve. I've had Ellis, so.
May I defer to Board Member Nielsen, who I think has a proposal he'd like us to listen to that might defer this.
Okay.
Mighty Chair, I would move that we take R277-700 and not put it into administrative rules and send it back to committee. I'll make that motion.
I already got a motion. That's a reconsideration.
We already have a motion on the table.
You make an amendment.
An amendment, excuse me.
The amendment doesn't add to or take away from the particular motion on the table. It has to add.
So we got to vote on that.
So we have to vote on the previous.
Move the previous question on Brittany Cummins.
Yeah, call the.
But no, that's coming.
And knowing that his is coming.
Okay, so what? So am I helping you out here? I'm not helping you, but you either have to add or your amendment should add or take away.
What Brittany's amendment was, which was this one, and we take R277-700 and just send and not put it in administrative rules now and send it back to committee.
Okay, that was the motion that.
She had other pieces.
Yeah, she had other pieces. That's not the motion. That's my motion.
Hold on, I thought. Let me just go. Well, okay, well. That doesn't add or take away from her motion that she has today.
So then, can I substitute the motion?
No, because you have to add. It's either.
Okay, so let's finish, and then he's going to.
Yeah, you're either gonna.
I think Angie's got it to where I can get the wording straight. Thank you.
Okay. She has a motion.
Yes. So let's finish that business, and then I will make my motion.
Okay, but so a lot of people are still wanting to speak. Spencer, well, I didn't recognize Spencer. Well, out of respect to everyone else that's just trying to weigh in, we know this is coming, but I've called out this sequence based on everyone's lights as they're trying to get in the conversation, out of respect for that. So it's Board Member Wright, and you're next, and then it's Bolter. No. That's right. Then, are you going to speak? Nope. Okay. Board Member Wright, do you have something to add?
Yes. Board Member Brittany Cummins, as I read this initially, I feel like this is a material change. On page 5, we've added a section I. I mean, the idea was you have to take language arts, math, science, and history, social studies, and then everything else was going to be electives. And unless I'm reading this wrong, now we're saying, no, you will take 2 arts courses. So we are effectively reversing a substantial portion of what we did, unless I'm reading this completely wrong. So this seems to be not just guardrails, but a substantial reversal.
Okay. I'm just wanting to stay in sequence because everyone let this up, and I know I'll hear after you, but because they were ignored. Board Member Reeve, your light is off, so you're not commenting?
I would like to comment.
Okay. Vice Chair Warner.
Okay, and
Okay, well then it's going to go to Spencer after Warner.
oh, okay, so I'm the one that changed my vote. Okay, so I wanted to explain why I changed my vote and why I'm going to speak in favor of this. I'm still really mad about the dual language immersion programs and the fact that we have all these programs around the state, and I voted in support of this because of the dual language. One of the reasons was the dual language immersion programs, and I did some research and I found out that we weren't really having a whole heck of a lot of those in middle schools, which is troubling to me because it's really hard when you learn a language and to keep it up. It's really hard if you don't speak it every day. The other thing is, and I did talk to Chair Belknap of the Standards and Assessment Committee, and I did email Brian Quisenberry. I'm troubled, and I supported this rule very, very openly and publicly. But I'm troubled because I went back through and did some homework last weekend. I spent all my Saturday reviewing this, and we were on it. We have a task force, and I'm concerned because Board Member Cannon brought up in every meeting, like 3 different meetings, that we had not brought forward a recommendation from the task force. So I went back through and I tried to find out what the task force was required to do. And I couldn't find it. And so I don't know what the task force was required to do. And so I'm in this ethical dilemma because I don't know what we were supposed to do, but whatever we were supposed to do, we haven't done, according to Board Member Cannon. So I'm just kind of concerned about that. So I thought I would share that, but it didn't come through the task force. This did not come through the task force, which is fine. I just am feeling this ethical dilemma about making sure that if we were required to bring forward a recommendation, according to Board Member Cannon, we have not done that. And she made it clear in every meeting. So, thanks.
Okay. Board Member Stokes. Board Member Stokes, then Bolter.
I know my seatmate had her light on first, so I have to be, is that okay, Chair Huntsman? Did she ask a question?
It was pulled over there to Board Member Wright.
I know.
Sharing it, but let's take it out. Are you wanting to let her have
Let her go first,
speak?
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I
Thank
just
you.
wanted.
What a gentleman.
So I just have a concern with this here where we're saying demonstrate competency. So it's as if we're saying, we're basically reverting everything and saying everything is required unless now you can show and demonstrate competency, in which case then you're allowed to have the choice to then take something else besides PE or health. And how do you demonstrate competency in PE, in health? I mean, who is going to say whether or not you're good at that, whether or not you're eating right, or whether, I mean, shouldn't that be up to the parents? I'm sorry, but it feels like we're just reverting right back, putting everything required with the illusion of freedom. You can do whatever you want in this 10 by 10 cell.
Okay. Board Member Stokes.
I call the question.
Okay. Call the question. We're going to end debate.
Now.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Voting was unanimous. Okay. The motion before us, Brittany, will you please restate that again that you had prepared there? I don't want to mess it up, but I have it generalized.
I know we've ended debate, but can I make a clerical correction in the rule that was noticed? Just so people know that there's a word that's incorrect in here before I say.
Sure, if it's brief.
Yeah, okay. So on line 136, it says at least 2, and that should be 1. The 2 is a remnant of the other revision. So I just want to make sure it's 1, and everyone knows it's not 1 and not 2.
Okay, thank you.
So the motion was, sorry, to adopt revision 1 of R277-700 and direct staff to file revision 1 of R277-700 with the Office of Administrative Rules.
Okay, that is the motion. Let's vote. All in favor say aye.
I got my question answered.
Those opposed?
No.
Will the ayes raise your hand to be noticed? We have one. We have Janet. Sorry. Okay. You have Brittany Cummins, Janet Cannon, Jennifer, Carol, Terrell. Okay. Does motion?
Chair, can I make a motion now?
One sec. The motion doesn't pass. Board Member Nielsen. I'm bringing you. Yeah.
Excellent. Having voted on the prevailing side, I'd like the board to reconsider. Thank you, Angela. Its actions, and I move to direct staff not to file a notice for an effective date for R277-700 with the Office of Administrative Rules and send R277-700 back to the Standards and Assessment Committee for further consideration and debate.
Okay, we have a motion. Have a second? Second, Janet. Any discussion?
Yeah.
Board Member Wright.
I really, this is a reversal of what we did. I mean, if we want.
No.
That's gone?
Yeah.
We're back to our original, but now we're sending it back.
We're not doing anything. It's just.
So why are we sending it back to committee? Because we want some changes to it?
Dixie Montessori.
That's what, that's, that. Okay.
All right. And we don't know what those changes will be. Well, we're just going to start over on it now that we've received comment?
No.
What are we?
Right now, the rule stands, but it's in a pause mode. It will not go to.
It's going to Laura and I's committee.
And then it's going to. and to go back to committee for some further debate. So that. Board Member Reeby, your light's on. Are you wanting to speak?
Call the question.
Wait, we haven't even seconded it.
Yeah, we had a second. We have a motion and a second. Been called to question. Let's end debate. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed?
No. You don't want to end debate? Oh, I thought we were. To end debate. Well, I don't think we should have when we didn't.
Okay, we have. Who's got a no on end of debate?
I thought we were voting. Joel wants to debate.
Okay. Did you get that? Okay. Debate ends. We're going to vote on the motion. And the motion was, again, Board Member Nielsen.
The motion is to direct staff not to file a notice of effective date for R277-700 with the Office of Administrative Rules and send R277-700 back to the Standards and Assessment Committee for further debate and consideration.
Okay. That is a motion before the board. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Bolter, Wright, and Ellis. Okay, this is going back to committee. Okay, motion passes. All right. We're going to